Welcome to another Armchair Fantasy Football live stream, folks. My name's Corey, and I'm here to help you out with all things fantasy football as we head into Week 8. Switching things up a little bit for this live stream. At this point, trading in the season is so critical because regardless of your record, you have a weak spot on your roster, whether it's injury-related or not, and if you don't, you're lying. Some of you are looking to grab an elite-level player and upgrade, while others are looking for more depth and trading down from that elite-level player. We've got it all in our Week 8 sells, and that's what this is. I'm doing a Week 8 sells video live, and I'll be able to answer any of your questions in live form as well, as we're about 36 hours away from kickoff on Sunday for Week 8, where the majority of games will be played. And before we get going, I will say, super pumped about this, announced it not too long ago. We did just drop our merchandise line, our Fantasy Armchair Athletes merchandise line. Super excited. These styles and products will be changing, but if you hit that link in the description below, we've got shirts, sweatshirts, coats, mugs, everything. Pretty affordable too. You can get a pretty nice mug for about $15. You can get a phenomenal, high-quality, premium sweatshirt. Praise in the chat, W for pray. Premium sweatshirt for $34 plus fees. 30-day free return policy. So if you're not satisfied with your product, you can do that as well. We run through Teespring. Again, maybe I'll do a little store run through at some point. But yes, link in the description below if you want some Armchair Fantasy Football merchandise. Thank you all so much for your support already. Would love to know what you end up getting. All right. Gonna go through these sells really quickly, and then I'll get through your questions. So please pile them up in the live chat. We're going to start with Geno Smith. Geno Smith had an amazing story last year. Again, these are sell highs, folks. Not here to take away from Geno Smith's amazing story, coming back from being what seemed like was going to be a career-long backup to now being a starter in the NFL again. The fact of the matter is we are in a QB-needy market right now with Justin Fields being down, Brock Purdy being down, Anthony Richardson being out for the season, and Daniel Jones either being injured or just playing very poorly, like lose your job to Tyrod Taylor poorly. Geno Smith was drafted as the QB 15 this year, meaning with the exception of some very deep leagues, if you have him, he's probably your backup. Now, Smith hasn't played horribly so far, but he's been below average from a fantasy perspective. He's the QB 22 and has 7 passing touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Here's my real reason to sell him high. The upcoming schedule is absolutely brutal. Fantasy Pros has the Seattle quarterback rated in a tie with Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow for the 3 hardest remaining schedules in the league from a fantasy perspective. I want no part of this, and I would much rather be streaming a backup QB than having Geno Smith sit on my bench collecting dust as he just scores lower and lower and lower. I really don't want to play that game. Moral of the story. We'll go to Brian Robinson Jr. next. We move into the backfield and begin with him. Now, with Robinson Jr., we have somebody I was complaining a lot about at the beginning of the season. I was claiming week 1 was a fluke. Maybe it wasn't even his backfield with Antonio Gibson back there as well. He had a phenomenal week 2 with a couple of scores. We've begun to regress back towards the mean since then, though. I mean, I harped on the longevity of Robinson Jr.'s production. How feasible is it? How sustainable is it? You see us use those terms all the time because of 2 things, efficiency and receiving upside. Specifically for you PPR owners, he's lacking in those categories. The man was dependent on volume, so a bunch of touches and touchdowns, neither of which I will argue are sustainable factors if you aren't efficient, and Robinson Jr. just is not. He is averaging under 4 yards per carry on the season now. It was the same theme that we saw last year. Obviously, getting very ugly in the last few games, but the volume has faded too. And you know why volume and touchdown dependency is bad? Because if you're a running back in Washington where the defense is giving up nearly 30 points a game, it's not going to be a run-heavy scheme. They're going to throw the ball a lot. We've seen that a lot. Now let's go look at the pass-catching upside. The Commanders throw the ball more often than almost any other team in the league. There's a couple ahead of them. But this is where Robinson Jr. could be saved if he's at least involved as a receiver, but he's not. We don't have much to work with here, folks. Just 2 targets per game, 14 targets through 7 contests so far for somebody who has now had less than 15 touches in 3 straight weeks and in 4 of his last 5 games. Some people are holding on to hope after what was a promising start for Robinson Jr. this year. Find them and deal him to them because there are red flags all around in Washington. Not something, in my opinion, to be too excited about with somebody like Robinson Jr. Again, we just want we simply want somebody who's efficient, because if those factors like volume, like touchdowns, which you're not going to see a whole lot of, especially in an offense that's pass heavy, are not there, and if he's not a receiving back, well, now we've got some trouble. And I will go in here and just start giving you guys some visuals as well. Little complimentary visuals. That way it's not all just me talking. Next up, we're going to have Travis Etienne. All right, Travis Etienne, somebody who, in all honesty, is tearing it up right now. He's got 3 straight games of 2 or more touchdowns. If you look at Etienne, he's been performing great, but the fact of the matter is his value probably won't be higher than it is right now. If you thought Christian McCaffrey's touchdown streak was amazing, how about Etienne putting up 2 touchdowns in 3 straight games? We've got it right here. He's simply not going to continue to do that, obviously, for a long period of time. So I'm putting Travis Etienne in the top 10 of running backs, especially when you consider that he's leading the league in rushes and his top 10 in total targets. We see a consistent 3 or 5 or 3 or 5, actually perfectly alternating pattern between 3 and 5 targets. So he should have 3 against Pittsburgh if we're following that. But he also has the most rushes of anybody in the league. We've got 26, 20, 19, 18, right? Lots of volume for Etienne. Now, this output is not sustainable, especially when you look at the fact he's got 2 touchdowns in the 3 straight games. He's selling as a top 3 to top 5 running back right now. He's more expensive, and I want you to capitalize on that because of the fact that he's already got 7 touchdowns, because of the fact he's pacing great, and because of the fact that we know 99 times out of 100, he's not going to keep this pace. You could package him with your wide receiver too. Nobody's going to keep this pace, by the way. No rip on him. You could package Etienne hypothetically with your wide receiver too and get nearly anybody in the league. You could almost get anybody that you want at a skill position. There are not many guys you can say that about. That is how expensive and valuable Travis Etienne is right now. Again, if you need the running back upside right now, hold on to Etienne. Otherwise, if you don't, feel free to upgrade at another position and still get a decent return in the form of somebody who could replace Etienne on your roster. Next up, this is a headache. Folks, we're doing live fantasy football sell high options, and I feel like I'm breaking my rule here, but feel free to compile those fantasy football related questions in the live chat below. We'll get to you in just a moment. I've got a couple more of these to go over, just some housekeeping things, helping you realize that these people are at an optimal value to sell, or I'm sick of them. And that brings us to Aaron Jones. I'm sick of Aaron Jones. I'm honestly just out on him for this year. And this is a bummer because I was high on him at the beginning of the year, and I'll tell you why in a second. Not sure I can confidently say that this is a sell high scenario unless you find the right buyer, but I found something real fishy last week that has stemmed into the current day with Aaron Jones. Jones played in 35% of snaps in week 4, and after taking off in week 5 and getting a week 6 bye, the man comes back in week 7 and is in for 36% of snaps. There it is right here. 35% gets week 5 off against Vegas, ends up being a loss, gets the bye off, plays Denver, essentially the same amount of action. I mean, extremely tough to look at if you are an Aaron Jones fantasy owner because you probably grabbed him in a pretty early round. This is a clear setback happening with Jones' hamstring injury ever since the injury originally happened back in week 1. And again, removed from injury report, but it's still nagging him. We have seen this same pattern over and over and over. He's questionable midweek. He ends up playing, and he's in for limited snaps and gets 8 touches, 13 touches, 9 touches, right? So it's really not the best situation to be in. I would not advise that you attempt to sell Aaron Jones outright. He should be included in a deal. He should be part of a package. We are halfway through the season. I would say if you've been riding strong with Aaron Jones and you want to wait it out, that's fine. But if you're 3-4, 4-3, if you're 3-4, 2-5, 1-6, and that's largely because of a lack of production out of the backfield because Aaron Jones has just been not playing, I say we get rid of the headache and we go and get somebody like a Jerome Ford once he's healthy or something like that. I love the situation he's in. I mean, this is the part that really bums me out. I like where Aaron Jones is at. Considering the struggles that we're seeing with Green Bay, we have an extremely young receiving core. We have an extremely young tight end core. I mean, we're talking about guys like Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson, who's also been hurt. Tight ends, we've got Luke Musgrave, right? We have Kraft. I mean, this is young, inexperienced talent, and I haven't even brought up Jordan Love yet. I mean, holy cow, where is the veteran presence on this struggling offense? This team that's 2-4, and they're used to making the playoffs all the time. It's the backfield. It's Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And we've seen A.J. Dillon get obviously a lot of the usage that Aaron Jones otherwise would have seen. And that's why I love this so much. We also have a pass catching back. We have somebody in Aaron Jones who had 70-plus targets last year and north of 60 the last 3 before that. This was a phenomenal check down option, a phenomenal security blanket, a phenomenal reason for Green Bay to probably feel a little bit better if he was healthy. Jordan Love still hasn't made 10 career starts. The struggles are apparent. Where's the experience? The backfield. I think it's time to cut ties with Aaron Jones, at least with the way everything looks on what has now been a 2-month nagging injury. If you're in a keeper league, maybe don't do it. Obviously, you probably got more depth at that point as well. Go get somebody who you know at least is going to be in for a higher percentage of snaps. If you want to talk someone who's healthy right now, Alexander Mattison would be a great trade-off. Let's go to the wide receivers. Really, really upset about the Aaron Jones situation. I'm not going to lie. If you're watching this channel early on in the year, during my drafts, I was drafting the heck out of Aaron Jones. Really liked the situation he was in, and I pretty much predicted it. This offense was going to struggle with their youth. What didn't pan out for us was the veterans excelling because one of the veterans in Aaron Jones has not been on the field. Rashee Rice is up next here, the wide receiver 1 now on the Chiefs. This one hurts a little bit as well because I do think that Rice is somebody who has contributed more than most probably expected. Rolling into the season, Kadarius Toney was slotted in as the wide receiver 1 and advertised as the likely second option behind, of course, Travis Kelce. But right now, that secondary target is Rice. The fact of the matter is, though, if you picked up Rashee Rice like I did off of waivers in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, his value is higher than it was before. A lot higher than it was before. Obviously a rookie, didn't really know what we were getting, not a highly touted prospect, but he showed up. All right, what I find interesting though, despite Rice's heavy involvement for the most part, relative to the rest of the team like Sky Moore, right, is the lack of snaps he has seen. 46%, 30%, 49%, 59%. This is what we need to capitalize on, understanding that Rice has a higher target to snaps ratio. We have somebody who, when he is on the field, is very likely to be used. We've got 3 touchdowns. We've got instances of 5, 6, one time 7 targets. All right? We have to capitalize on that. Sky Moore, though, and MVS are on the field a lot more. Look it up. They are blowing Rashee Rice out of the water in terms of the amount of snaps they have. If you are going to deal Rice, deal him right now. That's the next thing I want to talk about because you need to do it ahead of Sunday's game, considering that the weather in Denver is supposed to be horrible. We're talking 20s, maybe in the teens, snow, Mile High City. I think Isaiah Pacheco and the Broncos backfield in general, so Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin, are in line to get an above average rate of touches, while somebody like Rashee Rice, especially considering he's still the secondary option to Travis Kelce, might not be seeing the best of days. So this value that we're seeing rise, he's been in the double digits in each of the last 3 weeks in PPR. This is half PPR, so ignore that. We could see it fall considering the weather conditions. All right. Next one might come as a shock, but it's a definite sell high. George Pickens. George Pickens, I don't want to say he's been a complete surprise. A lot of people were really high on George Pickens coming into the season because of the film, the raw talent, the physical stature, being 6'3", having reach, definitely has its perks. George Pickens has been phenomenal. There is no denying that, but the state of this offense and the new volume competition around him concerns me. Again, folks, if you're just stopping in, we are doing live sell high selections. Typically, I do a video on this. I just want to do it live and be able to answer your questions as we near the 36-hour mark in our countdown to noon kickoff. Noon for me because I'm in Central Standard Time. One of my sell high options is George Pickens. Let's start with this Pittsburgh Steelers offense that has been lackluster, and that is putting it very politely. They are among the bottom ranks when it comes to straight up scoring. They struggle to move the ball down the field, and that means when you have someone performing like George Pickens, we might be looking at his ceiling right now. Obviously, a lot of targets here. The lowest amount of targets he's had is 6, ended up pulling in 4 for 75 yards. Really, his worst day at the office was a 5.5 point performance, but he still had the volume. It wasn't even the least amount of volume he had all year. Look at the snaps. He's out there a ton as well. I think we're looking at his ceiling. All right. Another thing, this is also, and I'll explain that in a second, this is also a winning football club. So they are leaning on the run a little more in the later stages of games. We're seeing Najee Harris, even more Jaylen Warren. Was going to throw Najee Harris on here, but I don't think we'd exactly be selling him high. He continues to lose touches to Jaylen Warren. So we do have that. Now let's cover a major factor that can push George Pickens away from his fantasy ceiling. You guessed it. Diontae Johnson's back. Back and getting what we're used to seeing. A decent amount of targets. He was only in for 66% of snaps, caught 5 of 6 targets for 79 yards. Diontae Johnson is a volume threat. And that's putting it lightly. 147, 169, 144 targets. Do the math here with the games. He is, in his career, pretty much averaging 10 targets per game. Last year was a little funky with some injuries. Or I'm sorry, his rookie year was a little funky with some injuries. This is somebody who's going to average about 10 targets a game. When we reference the last 3+ years, we saw right away 6 targets in 66% of snaps. I mean, this is somebody who's going to possibly fill in as the wide receiver 1B. I don't want to completely elevate him ahead of George Pickens right away, but this is somebody who, again, he's demanded somewhere near or in the ballpark of 150 targets for each of the last 3 seasons. In one game back, we are seeing a small sample size of that usage again. Yeah, I mean, highest target shares in the league are usually around the low 30s, and he's hung high 20s, low 30s pretty much since 2020. In other words, Diontae Johnson's going to demand touches that may otherwise go to George Pickens. 2 picks left, and then I got your questions, and I will answer them, folks. Kyle Pitts. Can we really claim we're selling Kyle Pitts high? I would argue yes. We have somebody who was a huge disappointment last year, and it ended with a season-ending injury. It ended with somebody who we were told was this freak prospect out of college, really not living up to the hype. And he's not in a great offense either. Let's capitalize on Kyle Pitts while we can. I've said this time and time again, but Kyle Pitts has to be the only tight end in the league who is still getting hype 3 years out of his college and prospect profile being released. I mean, this is not a good offense in Atlanta, just said that, but they're averaging in the ballpark of 16 points per game. In each of the last 3 weeks, Pitts has 22 total targets. All right, 22 total targets. So he's getting more usage. He has scored in the double digits in fantasy PPR in 2 of the last 3 weeks. I'd say capitalize on this hype while you can. Jonnu Smith still has the man beat in receptions and catch percentage, but not targets. And this is a very run-heavy team. They're only throwing the ball 53% of the time, and Desmond Ridder has struggled enough to be concerned about the success of the pieces around Kyle Pitts. Around Desmond Ridder, one of them being Kyle Pitts. Package Pitts up with a bench option and go get yourself a top 10 tight end who's more consistent. I think it's somebody in the Dallas Goedert or Cole Kmet zip code, but those are just my suggestions. Let's wrap it up with somebody who, a lot of these players I was really high on. At some point last year or early this year, we're going to sell high on David Njoku in a pretty thin tight end market. You've heard me say that all the time. It's the thinnest market out there. That's why somebody like Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews or George Kittle or TJ Hawkinson is such a big deal, because it's far and few between to find somebody at the tight end position who is averaging in the double digits in fantasy PPR. All right. David Njoku. We are closing out with David Njoku for our sells for week 8, and then I go over your fantasy questions and help you out. Again, I'm Corey, and this is Armchair Fantasy Football. Leave a like and subscribe if you're getting value out of any of this content, and please, again, feel free to drop those questions in the chat. Closing it out with Njoku, another great tight end who isn't in the best situation, but has seen a spike in production over a relatively small sample size, but recency does reign supreme. We know that in fantasy. This is what I would call bait. 9 targets in an offense that features Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper and is also relatively run-heavy, Jerome Ford or not. This is somebody with a double-digit fantasy performance in fantasy PPR. In 2 of the last 3 games, there's 1, there's 2. This is the outlier. He's also seen an average of 6 targets per game in these last 3 games, so a total of 18 for you mathematicians. That is not true. It's 20. So a little over 6 targets per game, almost 7. We've got higher volume, but the quarterback situation, I'm going to argue, is worse in Cleveland than it is in Atlanta. Desmond Ridder gets a lot of flack. I'd say he's a middle-of-the-road QB. We can't really say that about somebody who got us negative fantasy points and then was yanked out of the game in Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is on track for the worst year of his career again, and we have a team that just doesn't pass the ball often. Again, it's going to be Jerome Ford or Kareem Hunt. They're just the priority right now. Njoku isn't the primary or secondary option in the passing game. He is behind Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. So he has a relatively small piece of that pie when this team does pass. Again, sometimes it's even PJ Walker out there. If he's on your team, Njoku is, let's take this nice little stretch he's had and run into the market with it. All right. Those are the sells. Any questions about those at all, feel free to pop those in the chat. But I am here to help you with your team. I see we've got Prey in here. We've got Kevin in here. We've got Panther Airsoft or Gabe in here. We've got Derek in here. Thank you so much for joining, folks. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We're helping you out as we head into Week 8. We're helping you out research your fantasy opponent. Kevin says, Addison and Hollywood in my second flex spot after CD, Amon-Ra, and Olave. Think that's enough. I just can't get Tay Adams in a trade. I got Devontae for Puka Nacua and Joshua Palmer. So if you can find something near there, that's kind of what I'm seeing market value at right now, at least in my league. But in a trade, just impossible to trade with that guy. Yeah, you're going to have the occasional person who just will not give it up. And if you get a Packers fan or a Raiders fan, good luck. They're not going to give up Devontae Adams, right? Also got London to full PPR. Think that's pretty good depth. Panther Airsoft says, just bought a mug off the site. Go get something for yourself. Thank you, man. Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate it. All right. Derek, trying to sell T-Law, but only one team is interested, and they're offering Terry McLaurin. I have Tua as my quarterback one and just added Kyler in my IR slot. Just don't want to get stuck with dead bench space later in the season. Yeah, we don't need 3 quarterbacks, right? And Trevor Lawrence, Derek, fun fact, has one of the hardest remaining schedules in the league. He's tied with Joe Burrow and Geno Smith. All right. Remaining strength of schedule from a fantasy quarterback perspective, it's not pretty. So I like that out of those 3 options, even with Kyler hurt right now, Derek, you are selling T-Law. All right. Just don't want to get stuck with dead bench space later in the season. I cannot stress enough. That's a phenomenal way to go about things. You want to make sure you're making use out of everybody. Even if you're not going to put somebody that's on the bench on your team, you need to be able to see trade value there so that you can get a return later on. All right, so thoughts, 10-team, half PPR, McLaurin on a bad offense with a tough schedule rest of season, but I could use some wide receiver depth. Offering McLaurin straight up for T-Law, I'm not sure I love it. We do have that tough remaining schedule with T-Law. We have the same thing with McLaurin. McLaurin's in a cluster, man. I mean, you know this. It's not a horrible offense, to be honest with you. It's a pass-heavy offense. It's one of the most pass-heavy offenses in the league, Derek. So we might have a little diamond in the rough scenario here, considering that Jahan Dotson is pretty much just being neglected. Washington, throwing the ball 67.43% of the time. They're right up there with Minnesota and Cincinnati. All right, Commander stats. If we look at McLaurin's involvement in this offense, he is the main guy. But this is one of the few teams where you are going to see, if it loads, 1, 2, 3, 4 players with at least 30 targets right now, just 7 games into the season. And Logan Thomas has only played 6. We have a rotating wide receiver 1. It seems clear when you look at the fact that there's a 12-target gap between Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. Dotson was really getting involved last year. I thought maybe he had a shot at taking over because he is younger, just going into his second season. We've got Curtis Samuel up there. We've got Logan Thomas relatively involved. Red zone targets are sporadic. I don't know if Terry McLaurin is enough typically for T-Law, especially in half PPR. But Derek, I will say if this is your third quarterback and you're just looking to get some type of return, maybe we take it. Because you just talked about dead bench space. I was going to say get McLaurin and somebody else to get a greater return, but then you have to drop somebody else. And if you're getting McLaurin and what would be considered a throw-in and McLaurin's your main piece, you're probably not getting a ton of return there. So Derek, I think that's fine. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback. Oh, MA Football saying who's TA or T-Law. Yeah, so Derek, I'm thinking we go Trevor Lawrence for McLaurin. If they have a slightly better wide receiver, we go for them straight up. Typically in this scenario, I would want a return of 2 if McLaurin's the best they're offering. But again, you bring up dead bench space. So unless you see somebody else on there, one of the worst players on their bench that maybe could be of value for you, you see an easy upcoming schedule, you see some type of trade value that you could use them for, or by God almighty, maybe you think of starting them one week. If that's not happening, I think we go T-Law for McLaurin straight up. Derek says, no problem, glad to help. Yeah, that's all right. We got some good dialogue going on in the chat right now. Tua's bye is week 10 when T-Law faces the San Francisco defense. So not going to start him that week anyway. Yeah, so Derek, if you truly have no use for Trevor Lawrence, I would actually say that Terry McLaurin is a fair trade. I need to ditch Trevor Lawrence. He's my starting quarterback in a 12-team, half PPR. So we're going through it because, yeah, that remaining schedule for Trevor Lawrence is also not easy. All right. MA football guy, in a real pickle since I started Mike Evans. I have Waddle over Cooper at the flex right now. Waddle going up against the Patriots. Cooper, I just don't love the Browns passing offense. I really don't. Even though obviously Cooper is the decisive number one option against a Seahawks team that just... The Seahawks do give up some of the most fantasy points to wide receivers. But Jalen Waddle is the wide receiver, too, in one of the best offenses in the league. I think I like Waddle. He's not going to get as much volume as Cooper, typically. Or so you would think. I mean, Miami does run a lot of plays, so they probably break about even. I'm okay with Waddle over Cooper at the moment. We don't even know who the quarterback's going to be for the Browns on a week-by-week basis, which is pretty concerning to me. Could be Deshaun Watson, could be P.J. Walker, could be Deshaun Watson, gets hurt, goes into the negatives, and then gets ejected, and not ejected, but leaves the game for P.J. Walker to come in. So, yeah, I'm okay with that, MA football guy. Anime says your advice is on top. Pair of emojis. I love it. MA football guy says, sorry, I'm a rookie at fantasy. You're a good man. That's what I'm here for. I am here if it's your first or 50th year playing. All right. Derek saying, could be a big day for Waddle since Tyreek Hill is not 100%. We do have that. We have the lingering injury, even if Tyreek plays, which it looks like he will. Maybe not at 100. As long as Tua is good. If we've got Skylar Thompson chucking the ball around, I'm not feeling. Or Mike White could be interesting. He's the backup. But I'm okay with Waddle because of the high-flying offense, because of the fact that Tyreek might not be 100%. Although he's like, I don't know if you guys saw, he's pacing for a Cooper Cup 2021 season, which is something I didn't think we'd ever see again. And here we are 2 years later. So pretty cool. I'm all right with Waddle here. All right. Derek saying, appreciate the insight as per usual. Facing the last undefeated team in my league this week and have a bunch of nice matchups, so hoping to hand him his first L. That is a storyline right there, Derek, for your season, for your triumph to the top. I hope you take him out. I hope you hand him his first L. I hope you steal every bit of the momentum and start your run to the playoffs. That's crazy. I mean, in some of your leagues, I'd be curious to know, when do your playoffs start? Week 14, 15, 16? It's coming up. I mean, 2 months away is not that far. These are times where if you're 3-4, 2-5, you got to make moves. You got to think, I almost need to run the table just to make sure, because some of you are in like 10, 12-team leagues where only 4 are making the playoffs. I'm trying to evolve. If you're in a 12-team league with me, I'm trying to make 6 make the playoffs. So, yeah. MA football guy, thanks, Corey. Just trying to get my 6-1 team to 7-1. And you're a rookie, MA football guy. That's pretty impressive. I can tell you, my first year, I was not 6-1 through 7 weeks. All right, that's pretty cool. My opponent's 2-5 and had Godwin, whom I sat in another league. You know, there was this weird thing. I'm not one for speculation, but the NFL posted a hype video for Chris Godwin. Baker Mayfield's talking about his intangibles, his talent, how much of an asset he is on this team. And a lot of people in the comments were going, he's hurt, he's not even going to play. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. We're highlighting Chris Godwin. I mean, yeah, it'd be a tragedy if he didn't get the ball, but I just had a weird feeling. This is still somebody who's a 1,000-yard receiver, right? Had kind of a slow start. We have somebody in Baker Mayfield who loves to chuck it, as we saw in that Hail Mary, where he cleared 65 yards rather easily. He wants the big frame, big ball target, 50-50 guy in Mike Evans. That's the profile he looks for. But Chris Godwin's still a multi-year 1,000-yard receiver. He's not a scrub. I honestly think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, that's one of the most underrated 1-2 punches in the league. Baker Mayfield has been put in a really good spot. But yes, so Godwin had a good day against a Bills defense that hasn't looked the best this year. I mean, we can't really watch that game against the Bucs, a team we're still kind of learning about, and say the Bills look like a great team, and say the Bills look like a top 2 or 3 team in the AFC even, right? I'd put the Dolphins over them right now. I'd put the Chiefs over them right now. If the Bengals were healthy, who knows? The Jaguars, yeah, that's an interesting case. So, yeah. MA Football Guy says second year, so not really a rookie. Oh, that's understandable, but still, nonetheless, not bad, not bad. Try and do something here. That did not work. Again, if you're just dropping in, my name is Corey here on Armchair Fantasy Football. We are answering. What have I done? We are answering your Week 8 questions, my sell-high options for today. I explained them earlier, but we've got Geno Smith at the quarterback position, one of the toughest remaining schedules, and just not performing how we saw him performing last year. There we go. I just detached my chat bar, so that was kind of messing with me. Brian Robinson Jr., high volume, not enough productivity, not enough efficiency. He was very volume and touchdown reliant. And we lost both of those. Not much pass catching upside either. So for your PPR owners, get the heck out of that situation. Travis Etienne, phenomenal, but he has scored 2 touchdowns in 3 straight weeks. I think it's safe to say he's one of the most expensive running backs in the market right now. If you've got the depth and you drafted him 4th, 5th, 6th round, maybe you deal him for some depth if that's something that you need to do. Aaron Jones, I'm done. Rashee Rice, we've got snaps competition being outdone by Sky Moore and Justin Watson, but actually Watson out for a bit, looks like. George Pickens, phenomenal, but horrible offense, and Deontay Johnson, who's commanded in the ballpark of 150 targets a year for the past few years, is back. Kyle Pitts, let's capitalize on this little spike while we can. We have an offense scoring 16 total points per game. They're run-oriented. Yeah, I don't like it. And David Njoku, another poor offense, poor quarterback play, run-oriented team. Red flag for me. Keep popping those questions in, folks. I am attempting to throw the chat on the screen here. I don't think it's going to work. Second year, so not really a rookie. Yeah, MA Football Guy, I mean, that's still pretty new, man. That is still pretty new. D'Onta Foreman or Derrick Henry. As much as I love D'Onta Foreman and I'm down on Derrick Henry for the year, Tyjae Spears has been taking a lot away from him. I think I'm going to lean in his direction. I mean, we've got someone in D'Onta Foreman who's been solid his whole year. He was actually the backup for Derrick Henry. That's close because D'Onta Foreman is actually going up against the Chargers, one of the worst rush defenses in the league. That's actually pretty dang close. Call me a nut. I'm leaning Foreman. If Roschon's not playing. If Roschon is playing, we are not starting D'Onta Foreman. D'Onta Foreman's going up against one of the worst rush defenses in the league in the Chargers. Proof is in the pudding. We can look right here. Again, hope you folks are doing well on this Friday night. Little grind session here. Going over sell high options, answering your questions, trying to put in the hours to make sure that all of you do well this week. Chargers rush defense has gotten better. Atlanta's is very tough. That's who's facing Derrick Henry. Yeah, I'm still leaning Henry. I do think that D'Onta Foreman and Derrick Henry are heading in very different directions. D'Onta Foreman, it's more of a short-term solution because Roschon's out, because Khalil Herbert's out. Keep an eye on Roschon. He might not actually be out this week, but he's been out. Derrick Henry's still a dominant back. Not much pass catching upside. His efficiency's down, but he's still getting a decent amount of volume. Both have a pretty close matchup. The Chargers' rush defense was tough the first couple of weeks. They've shored things up. I'm going to go Derrick Henry by a hair. Pray, thoughts on Kareem Hunt? I mean, regardless of if Jerome Ford's going to play or not, which I don't think he is, Kareem Hunt, not too long ago, was a sustainable number 2 option on the Browns. Kareem Hunt was getting a decent amount of looks in the receiving game because we had somebody like Nick Chubb who just, that's not his game. All right, we have somebody in Kareem Hunt who has a pretty good opportunity this week. I mean, so many nagging injuries. That's actually insane. Everywhere you turn. Everywhere you turn. I say this every year, but the injuries are absolutely insane right now. All right. His stuff's not coming up. Just trying to show you folks what Kareem Hunt's pass catching role was not too long ago. There we go. Okay. I mean, nothing crazy, right? We've got in the ballpark of about 3 targets per game, a little over 3 targets per game, a little over 3 targets per game. When Cleveland first got him, he was going nuts. This is 5.5 targets a game. As the main back, you know, we have somebody who hasn't played football in a while up until a couple of weeks ago, but was still a serviceable option. We're going to need to score. I'm not the biggest fan of him in general, but against Seattle, I think it's a nice matchup, and I think we have somebody who's stepping into a role that's obviously going to give him some more chances, to say the very least. And that's something to be excited about. So I think we roll with it. All right. MA Football Guy says, I was in a league with some younger coworkers a couple of years ago, and one of them did very well with Hunt. A couple of years ago, you are probably talking 2020 was something. I mean, mainly because of the touchdowns. 4.3 yards per carry is nice. 11 total touchdowns is more than nice. It's very nice, very generous, right? That's something where the guy, as a secondary back to Nick Chubb, had 1,000 all-purpose yards, and was the RB 10.5 PPR. That is insane. Yeah. So I mean, that's a little while ago for sure. But Kareem Hunt, to answer your question, Pray, I like his chances here. He is going up against the Seattle defense. That's very tough against the run, but we have somebody elevating with the Jerome Ford injury. We have somebody which I would say now falls into literally just the average category for pass catching upside. We've got about 2 targets a game. We saw more here, obviously, once Ford started to get bruised up. But we've got to watch out. This is a team that's going to find a way to run it one way or another. And if Hunt doesn't look 100%, Stefanski's not going to hesitate to throw the next guy in, right? Not at all. All right, quick review again, folks. Sell high options for this week. Geno Smith at quarterback, Brian Robinson Jr. and Travis Etienne at running back, Aaron Jones as well, Rashee Rice and George Pickens at wide receiver, mainly due to the fact they're in George Pickens is in a poor offense. Rashee Rice, it's just lack of opportunity with other options like Sky Moore getting more snaps, and I think that catches up with him, plus the weather. 20 degrees and snowy. George Pickens on the bad offense. Kyle Pitts and David Njoku on run-heavy offenses that don't feature them a ton. went with your advice to flex Josh Downs over Kareem Hunt. I'm a big Downs fan right now. Could not get him myself. Was not in the place I needed to be in for the waiver order. This is somebody capitalizing on every opportunity. Folks, if you're new to the channel, you probably haven't heard me say this much. If you've been on this channel a while, if you're Brian Pereira, if you're Pray if you're listening, availability, opportunity, productivity. Those are the three things that we like. Availability, Josh Downs, brand new career here. First year. Is he healthy? Yes. We're 7 for 7 so far. We're not seeing anything indicating that he's battling some injury. We're not seeing a heavy dip in snaps. We're not seeing him phased out of the game. He's on the field. Opportunity. In a wide receiver's case, is he getting targets? In a running back's case, is he getting touches? This guy is getting targets, and he's actually been trusted in this offense regardless of who was under center from the beginning. Productivity. What's he doing with his opportunity? On the ground, if you're a running back, are you efficient? With Joshua Downs, we want a high catch percentage. We're middle of the pack. We're around 67%. We've got 400 yards. We have 12 yards per catch, 8.5 yards per target. We have 2 touchdowns, 1 in each of the last 2 weeks. That's why he's probably not available on your waivers anymore. I love Josh Downs. And we have somebody who doesn't really rely on his legs as much. I say that despite the fact he ran for 2 touchdowns last week. In Gardner Minshew, I really like Josh Downs here. Seems to be the clear secondary option to Michael Pittman, and sometimes he looks like the primary option. Should I trade Michael Pittman? Pray, what are you looking for? What would you like to upgrade in? What position? Because we have to understand with Michael Pittman, the value is mostly going to be there right now. If someone gets real skeptical, they can see that he wasn't targeted a whole lot and did rely on a big play here. An insane play, by the way, where he dusted everybody on the Browns defense. Michael Pittman is somebody who's going to be reliable. He's going to hang around the top 20, as we've seen here, since his rookie year. Not the biggest touchdown scorer. Volume's there. I mean, we're hanging around 7 targets a game. We're hanging around 9 targets a game. This week, we're hanging around 10 targets a game. This guy's still getting volume in a relatively pass-heavy offense. Pray's not sure. That's all right. That's all right. And folks, I do want to take a quick chance again to let you know that the Armchair Fantasy Football store is live. We've got a merch store. We've got some pretty affordable products. We've got some high-quality products. We've got fair return policies. I go through Spring, used to be Teespring. Very excited about this partnership, and I just did you a favor and dropped the link to our merch in the live chat. If you've been following since day one, if you're a huge supporter, just check it out. See if you like anything. We've got mugs, we've got t-shirts, we've got sweatshirts. Very excited about this partnership and looking to just show you all some appreciation with some affordable, high-quality product, and just already appreciate you all so much. I would appreciate if you got anything out of that store and were able to rep the brand, go to school, go to work. People ask, what's that? And we can just spread the word about this channel and build this community. That is the goal. Store just launched a couple days ago. We will be doing promo codes in the future. I'll be doing holiday specials. Just launched this before Halloween, so we're not going to have any of that this year. But look out for Christmas stuff. Maybe some Thanksgiving stuff. Maybe some giveaways down the road, depending on how sales go. I am very thankful for all of you. And again, just wanted to make that announcement. Link to the store is in the live chat. Pray we've got somebody in a pretty decent position. If you don't have Michael Pittman as a wide receiver too, and maybe he's your flex or bench, I think we could play with them. If you want to package Pittman up with somebody on the bench, we could upgrade and go after somebody like Amon-Ra St. Brown, who gives us a little more consistency. As long as he's healthy. He's been battling injuries a little bit. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is somebody, I mean, holy cow. 15 and 19 targets. This is something to be very excited about. He's got 4 games of at least 100 receiving yards. This is just someone who's consistent. Right? Not a ton of down the field targets. Middle of the pack in terms of his scoring. but he gets volume, and he capitalizes, and he's consistent. Prey says, my team's pretty much just losing right now until I get Justin Jefferson back. I feel you, man. It's tough right now. It is tough. All right, folks, keep popping those questions in. You can look at the lines here. Kind of see what we got going on. I do this just to kind of highlight who we could be looking at for some productive days at the office. Obviously, 6-point favorites for the Cowboys. They're at home. I really like Tony Pollard here. I think the Rams might put up more of a fight than the odds makers want to give them credit for. They've got one of the meanest 1-2 punches in the league in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So, yeah. I don't know. But I would say that Tony Pollard would be getting a lot of touches if Dallas can keep this chalky and jump out to a lead. This is a toss-up game. Can't confidently say if Aaron Jones plays that he will be very involved. I can say that Alexander Madison's been seeing a lot of volume, and if the Vikings can pull off the upset here, not even the upset, they're 1.5-point favorites now. He could do very well. More involvement pass catching upside-wise. This is going to be an ugly game. 35.5 point total. That is Iowa and Minnesota bad. This is actually horrible. I'm not sure I will watch this game. But if you have Bijan Robinson and he's not going through some illness and he's getting his touches, phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal scenario for you. Straight up between the Saints and Colts right now, it is a pick'em. Relatively balanced offenses on both sides. We have Mr. Checkdown Heavy and Derek Carr. I obviously love Alvin Kamara here. I do like Chris Olave against the Colts secondary. They're up in the higher ranks in terms of passing yards per game allowed. Michael Pittman and Josh Downs, both consistent. It's going to depend on who Lattimore shadows. Likely, if he's shadowing anybody, it would be Pittman. Raheem Mostert legacy game, as long as he's healthy. 10-point favorites. I'm giving it to the running back. Ramondre Stevenson's been playing redemption for sure. We need a relatively balanced attack for him to continue to redeem himself. And I don't know if we're going to get that because this is supposed to be a blowout. Yeah, so New York Jets, -3 over the Giants. Another disgusting game. I would say with Tyrod Taylor in, Darren Waller is in a decent chance or a decent spot to succeed. Obviously, the Jets defense has been stifling, but 3-point dogs, if you're working from behind and you go pass heavy, he's been the primary option. Wan'Dale Robinson's not a bad one either. Deontay Johnson. I think this one will be interesting for Deontay Johnson. I think Calvin Ridley's going to be interesting if this game stays close. Hasn't been getting a whole lot of volume, right? But Pittsburgh is allowing the third most amount of fantasy points in PPR formats to wide receivers. Eagles Commanders, this feels like a trap game. This is not a pick'em show, but this feels like a Commanders shock the world game. We saw one like this last year where it got ugly. If all goes to plan, DeAndre Swift has been literally phenomenal. I don't know if we could ask for much more. He wasn't getting a whole lot of touches in the first couple of weeks. This guy, pass catch galore as of late. We have 19 targets in the last 3 games after having just 11 in the first 4. We're not very touchdown reliant. We only have 3 total through 7 weeks, and he's running back 8. I mean, this is awesome. This is a team that's favorited. This is a team that's run heavy. Very, very big fan of that. And Washington is allowing 4.4 yards per carry. So weak opposition as well. Texans, Panthers. Panthers, they've been losing a lot of football games, so their secondary on paper looks okay. Yes, they have J.C. Horn. I'd be concerned if you have Nico Collins, if you have Tank Dell. Who's going to get it, right? Dalton Schultz. Who's going to get the targets if this game ends up getting ugly? And all of a sudden they go run heavy with Dameon Pierce or Devin Singletary. I don't trust either of those guys either. CJ Stroud in general should be nice. Cleveland Browns and Seattle Seahawks. This one could be very close, to be honest. Shocked this is not a pick-em with how the Browns have been playing. The equalizing defense. Okay with Amari Cooper. Not my favorite. in this situation, and the Browns not allowing a whole lot of passing yards per game. I think if Kenneth Walker III is healthy and can get involved as a passer in this game, that could be the backdoor road to victory for Seattle. Kansas City and Denver. Really looked at the weather in this one. 20 degrees, snowy. I think we see a lot of Javonte Williams. Jaleel McLaughlin continues to outperform him. And Isaiah Pacheco could do phenomenal. Not only does he have the weather on his side, he has the game script on his side. 7-point favorites. Baltimore Ravens -9.5 over the Cardinals. I actually really like Zay Flowers against this Cardinals secondary. This is just a scenario because we have such a wide spread that we need him to get involved early and often. Niners Bengals. This could be a big Jamar Chase game because the Niners have actually not looked as sharp on defense as in years past. This could be an absolute shootout. Tyson Bagent wasn't even throwing the ball down the field, and the Bears were able to put up 30 points. Mind you, a pick six was in there on the Raiders. The Chargers are allowing the most passing yards per game of any team. DJ Moore. Number one option with a backup quarterback. They're going to lean on that primary guy, and against the worst passing defense in the league. Hello, DJ Moore. How you doing? And that's what I've got there. All right. MA Football guys saying, would you suggest medium or large, Corey, for the shirt? MA Football, here's the thing. Pick your size for the shirt. It's a 30-day free return policy, so if you don't like it, you can return it right away and get the right size. I'm going to go with a large. I am 5'9", 190 pounds, to give you an idea. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm going to go with a large. I'm a large in most things. I'd say I'm about an average-sized human, maybe a little over in weights. I feel like the average-sized human's like 5'8", 175. Completely making that up, right? But MA Football guy, I mean, if that kind of gives you an idea, I'm going with a large. It seems like the fit is pretty conditional, like pretty standard for the most part. We can go in here. And then you're saying, got Pollard and Mostert in my 6-1. Yeah, that is a mean 1-2 punch. I'm a big fan of those two for sure. Hope you guys are having a great Friday night. Trying to keep my voice here. Doing something pretty unique tomorrow with the company I work for. I'm at ESPN Beaver Dam here in Wisconsin. We are doing a casket race. There is a person in the casket. There are these big bars on the front and back, and we are pushing this thing hopefully to victory. 12 teams. We're going to try and come in first and win $1,000. 5'8", 170 here, man. Yeah, I mean, okay, we're about the same size. Got about 20 pounds on you. I'm in between medium and large. If you're worried about tight fit, yeah, I mean, I'll probably say and go with medium. Rather have the shirt small than too big. I'm someone who likes a little bit of room, but yeah, I'd go medium. I'd say medium's a safe bet. Again, 30-day free return policy. Let's go with medium. Which one are you looking at, Prey? We've got, let's see. We've got options here. Maybe we don't. Maybe the universe doesn't want me to show this anymore because I showed it too much the other day. Let's see. Internet's being spotty right now, but we're on. We're live. So that's the bright side. Always been a little on the heavy side for my height. Yeah, it's tough, right? If you want to go medium and then it ends up not working out, you can always go large too, right? I'm probably going large. I'm probably trying to get down to 170. I've been doing a lot of cardio, so I'll see if I can get down to your weight. But MA Football guy, let's see. Which shirt are we looking at? I'm just curious. Or if you're in between, that's fine too. Got this guy, this guy, this guy. This came up twice. Oh, never mind. Got a few options here. This is honestly sleek. I kind of like this. Little corner design. I wanted something simple. Center aligned with the bottom. Got black, navy, and charcoal. I'm a pretty big fan of that one. Price saying 170 at 5'8" is not heavy, making me see like I'm 5'9", 190. So what are we saying here, right? What are we saying here? If I was 5'9", 170, I'd be pretty happy. So feel like we're chilling, man. We're chilling. But yeah, MA football, what are we looking at? We got, again, folks, if you haven't been on a stream in a bit or you haven't watched a video in a bit, that's all right. I forgive you. Just went over sell high options. And we also just dropped a merchandise store. I will throw the link in the live chat once again. We'll be doing promo codes. We'll be doing holiday specials. Just dropped this right ahead of Halloween. And, went in, made some different designs. We've got this sleek one with the signature chair that goes way back to when this channel used to be a podcast, and the italicized font. We've got the chair with the italicized font under it. We've got a more classic font here, Armchair Army, if you guys want to be called that. I can change that too. A more classic font for Armchair Fantasy. Occupied from September to January, every Sunday from September to January. I personally relate to this one. Comes in black, dark heather gray, navy, and regular royal blue. We've got some pint glasses, mega pint, if you understand that reference. Bless your heart. And then, yeah, really, honestly, excited to have this in the shop. Premium pullover hoodie for $34. I've bought hoodies for $50, $60. So even with the fees, I'm all right. Crew neck on the right. We looking here? It's got to be, right? Yeah, it's got to be. Oh, or is it this guy? Is it the Armchair Army or the Occupied Every Sunday from September to January? Crew neck. So this guy. This is cold. This is actually pretty cold. I think the standard font just fits this more. This is my brand. This is the italicized font that you see on a lot of graphics, that you see in my thumbnails. But this guy, one day I'll learn how to navigate my own website. We'll just go to the Explorer. Oh, I see. I have it filtered weird. This guy's slick. I think this is perfect crew neck weather too, to be all honest with you. I don't know about you guys. It's about 45 by me, windy. I'm in a 3/4 zip right now. This is a work tee. I'll be wearing my own merch pretty soon. I'm not just going to tell you guys to buy something I wouldn't get myself. But yeah, 30-day free return policy. So satisfaction guarantee here. If you're not in love with your purchase, contact us within 30 days. And we'll do our best to work with you to find a solution for quality issues, clear photos. This seems like a pretty reputable company. Teespring has been around for a while supporting YouTubers. So pretty confident with this. They've got lenient policies like this. They've got a variety of sizes. You can actually cancel an order if you wake up the next morning and go, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, so for sure, size isn't right or anything. You can always do exchanges as well. All right, whether it's gift giving or not. But I'm assuming this is the one you're looking at, MA Football Guy. This is nice. This is nice. I think the medium will be fine, but size guide. Oh, okay, I didn't even know this. They give you the detailed size guide, so width, length, sleeve. If you want to pull out the old tape measure and really figure things out here, you could do that as well. It's 74 for me. Pray, what state are you in, dude? Holy cow. It's nearly half that. I can look up the temperature by me right now. It is 39 now. Okay. 39 in beautiful Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. Oh my gosh. I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. Crew neck tee that says Armchair Fantasy. Oh, okay. This guy. Right here. Oh, yeah, I like this one. It pretty much, when I made this design, I talk like I'm a designer, but used to do graphic design a lot, actually, for school. This is just simple minimalist stuff. Really just tried to copy the italicized design here. I either wanted big text squared up with the design. Felt like that looked really sleek. You could throw that in the corner as well. I think this is a better corner design because it's more so featuring the actual logo. Kind of looks like the same design as if I say design one more time, kind of looks like the same structure build as the pocket you'd have on a shirt. So I think that looks pretty sleek. But then just mimicking that with this more simple font, cleaner. I did the same thing with Armchair Army. Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of this. Goes all the way down to 4 or 5XL. Nice. Oh, I think that's a good choice, MA. Football guy. I like it a lot. Kentucky, 66 degrees now. It gets really cold, then hot. I just want it to stay cold. I burn up. You could take my 39 degrees, man. You could do that. At Corey, it's the Armchair Fantasy crew neck tee. I think we're on it right now, right? Anime says I'm going to cop some merge. Excited to do promo codes and giveaways in the future. Yeah, there we go. I like it, man. I think it's pretty simple. I did just go actually in their design app and chose this font. I felt like it's a little sleek. You got to have some options. Not everyone likes the italicized look. This is the brand I chose and made, but also just having that more sleek option, having the more simplistic option. Almost looks like just an athletic company. Which, hey, you want to wear it as a workout shirt, by all means. Got a little pint glass here. Coach jacket. I am in the middle of designing something for a windbreaker. So I think those are needed, especially if you're in the Midwest or really any windy area. Those are nice. This is by far my favorite. I think I'm copping one of these. Also got phone cases, by the way, if you would like. Got a Samsung case. And iPhone. So, yeah. You don't look 190, by the way. Well, thank you. You can only see me from chest up, but yeah, I'm cutting down. I wear shorts and t-shirts in 39 degrees. I did that in school. Don't know if I could do that anymore. I'm more of like a 3/4 zip guy. This is what I got on right now. But Anime says, do you have socks? You should get socks. I will probably do socks designs. I get a couple more. I can sell up to 15 products on this site. I'm at 11 right now. 11 unique ones. I can do socks. And what I would probably do is take this chair design, make a bunch of small ones, and just speckle it throughout the socks. I'm going to try and do that. Hey, that could be fun. But yeah, folks, make sure you shop on the site and look out for some promo codes. We'll do some holiday specials. We will do some giveaways. I'll be wearing this soon. You can twin with me, and we'll do some contests as well. If you've got the merch, if you tag a friend and you do something else, we'll do a giveaway. So really excited, honestly, just for where this channel's going, where you have helped this channel go. It makes this a very fulfilling, I don't even want to call it a side job because I enjoy it, but makes it a fun experience, to say the very least. So I'll just go over the cells here again. And folks, if you've got any questions after this stream that I have now just turned into a commercial apparently, always just comment on any of my videos and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Geno Smith, my sell high at the quarterback position right now. Not doing anything crazy. He's QB 22. This is a QB needy market. We've got Fields down. We've got Richardson out for the year. We've got Purdy down. We've got Daniel Jones not looking like he's worth the money. I don't really want any part of the Geno Smith futures either, though, because he has one of the most difficult schedules coming up in terms of fantasy quarterback production in the league. Brian Robinson Jr., volume and touchdown reliance, both of those have died. Efficiency and pass catching is not there. Travis Etienne, your value is not going to get much higher, and you're not going to get much more expensive than you are when you have 2 touchdowns in 3 straight games. Aaron Jones, I'm just done. I need you to package him with somebody else. Save yourself the headache and just ditch him. Go and get like an Alexander Madison, somebody who's playing a lot of snaps. Rashee Rice, lots of snaps going to Sky Moore and Watson. But the weather is also going to play a factor in Kansas City and Denver. Yeah. George Pickens, poor offense. Deontay Johnson's in. He's been in the ballpark of 150 targets a year. Kyle Pitts, poor offense, run-oriented, horrible catch percentage. And that's just him and Desmond Ridder not getting on the same page. David Njoku, run-oriented offense, and is poor. Yeah, MA Football Guy, I can get the measurements up again for you. No problem. No problem at all. I like the black, but also the smoke grays. Pretty sleek. There's that, if you want to take a picture of it. That's centimeters and inches. No, you're good, man. Don't worry about it. We will probably hop off pretty soon, but again, please ask me any start-sit questions, trade questions, any of that. Playing Love or Lawrence? Jordan Love against Denver, I thought was going to go better. It did not. Jordan Love against the Vikings. Brian Flores has them blitzing a ton. So there is that. Jags Steelers, I like T-Law. He does have one of the toughest remaining schedules in the league, but I like T-Law against that Steelers secondary. I can look on a separate tab here. I am going Trevor Lawrence, definitely. Steelers are allowing 241 passing yards per game. That is the 8th highest mark in the league. We're in the Detroit and Houston range. And again, Detroit's up there just because they win a lot of football games. And they are, as a result, dealing with teams that are throwing a lot in the second half coming from behind. And then just let me know when I'm good, MA Football Guy. Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a weaker opposition there, and we have a lackluster offense that's missing any type of a veteran presence and also just missing some health. It's youthful, injury-prone, not a good combination. Not a good combination at all. All right. Go into some plug-and-play options here. MA Football Guy, I'm going to jump off this. If you still need the picture, just throw your email in the chat, and I'll send you a picture. All right, I just want to go in. And talk a tiny bit about Tyrod Taylor. It's not the most optimal situation. I did say this last week, though, that if you're in a pinch, this is somebody you could definitely stream. This is a very temporary solution. This is like a Deontay Foreman thing in that bruised up backfield where are they even the best player at the position on their team? More times than not, we are going to say no. But Tyrod Taylor not turning the ball over. Actually, a little bit of rushing upside, which I wasn't expecting. And he's scoring for us. He's not going to go out and lose a game. I don't think he's going to go out and lose a fantasy game. I mean, owned in 7% of leagues. This is on Sleeper. One of my personal favorites because you get the snap percentage. You get the overall usage situation. And MA Football Guy saying definitely a large. Medium would hug me a little bit too much. Yeah, I'm probably going large too, man. I mean, now you got me thinking maybe I go XL. I don't know. If they end up running small, we'll see. I'll test the sizes. I'll be the guinea pig as well. But yeah, feel free to order, MA Football Guy. I appreciate you. And feel free to go for it. And if it doesn't work out, we've got the 30-day free return policy. Tyrod Taylor, folks, if you're in a real pinch, This is someone who's not owned in many leagues, does have a tough opposition, but does not turn the ball over. So you can sleep at night knowing that. But short-term solution, we've got other ones like Desmond Ridder with an easy upcoming schedule, with some rushing upside, with some definite volume through the air. The turnovers have just been an obvious issue, specifically here. 3 fumbles, holy crap. But yeah. This was the sell high video. We gave you a few candidates to say the very least. Geno Smith under center, Brian Robinson Jr., Travis Etienne and Aaron Jones in the backfield for various reasons, Rashee Rice and George Pickens out wide, Kyle Pitts and David Njoku at tight end. MA Football says, I'm good, you're good, I'm good. Thank you so much, folks, for watching. As always, thank you for your continued support. We'll be streaming on Sunday morning ahead of the first kickoff slate. All right, so make sure you tune in then. Make sure you ask any questions before that. I hope you all have a wonderful night and good luck in Week 8. Thanks so much for all the support, folks.